Good morning, everyone. I am Coach Keon Smith with Action Coach Guyana. Our company also has the license for the Who's Who in Guyana business directory. Very comprehensive tool to learn about businesses here in Guyana, who are the key people behind these businesses, and how can you connect. So great strategic partnerships can come from having your copy of the Who's Who in Guyana business directory. We are continuing our interview series with business owners, leaders, and CEOs of dynamic businesses across Guyana. And today is no different. I have joining me on our interview series today Mr. David of Boston Farm and Supermarkets. Pleasant good morning to you, David. How are you doing today?
Hi, morning, Kian. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. So, David, we're right now tuned in on our different platforms. We like to just say thank you to the persons who are tuned in. Remind them to like, love, and of course share the video to as many persons as possible. Now, Bounty Farm and Supermarkets seems to be a household name, but for those persons who might just know the name but don't know the history behind the name, David, can you tell us about Bounty Farm and Supermarkets?
Yeah, so Bounty Farm started in 1958, many years ago, by my grandfather. And it was basically done as a subsistence farm, a hobby farm. It had a bit of this, a bit of Edos, some cows, some sheep, some pigs, some chickens. And that grew over the years. It faltered during the 80s when things got really slow in Guyana. And then in the late 80s, it then with President Hyde working on the economic recovery program, Bounty Farm started to move from stride to stride. And in 1991, we started to focus a lot more on chickens. And early 90s, we opened our first what you would call supermarket meat center. The Water Street store was built with several cubicles in the same location it is now, and that's where we began. We've grown over the years with the help and support of the Guyanese public, and we're pleased and honored to represent Guyana with regards to producing and supplying superior quality, freshly produced, locally produced poultry meat. So it's great. We've grown a lot. When I started working here, there were 34 people working here at Bounty Farm, and to date we have over 800 staff.
Wow.
At the very location where I am, we have over 450 staff working full time.
Wow.
So we are the largest employers at Bounty Farm Limited of persons between Houston Bridge and Linden.
Oh, wow.
We're now the single largest employer.
Wow. Great information. If my math served me correctly, you said your grandfather started in 1958. So
Yeah,
that's about what, 62 years?
yeah.
Wow. So 62 years of experience with regards to poultry and providing quality
62
care,
years of hard work. Let's put it away. Hard work and dedication.
hard
True thing.
work and dedication.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, David, on that note as well, could you tell us how many locations you currently have for the supermarket?
So the supermarket, the current locations are four. So there's our main store at Water Street. There's one in Kitty, one at Regent Street, and one in Grove. Um,
Excellent.
yeah, and that started even before the 1990s, in the 80s. It started as a bus. There was a bus positioned at Water Street, and that bus had like two chest freezers inside, and that's where it started um,
Excellent.
a long time ago. It has grown, and as you said, it's now a household name.
Yeah.
And like the farm, the supermarket has now gone to another level where it really represents the best that we have to offer in Guyana.
Excellent. It's always good to have some of the history behind it because sometimes, the persons who are looking at it now might think that it just happened just like this.
Yeah.
So it's really good to, go back and really understand the origin of the company. Now, David, we are currently going through a crisis here in Guyana. I mean, you referred to one before, probably in the 80s. Yeah, you said the 80s where you had the economic downturn. But this is different. This is a virus that has no biases, affecting all of us, both economically and socially. How has COVID 19 affected your company? And what are some of the measures you have implemented in this time?
Yeah, well, it's like an unprecedented event that has taken place in the world. Um, the first person that actually was confirmed of having COVID in Guyana, she actually died on the 11th of March.
Yeah,
Um, the proximity of our farm location to the international airport was critical for us because a lot of our staffs, their relatives work at the airport. And we
okay.
saw that as being something real, made us very vulnerable at this location.
Yeah,
Bearing that in mind, and the fact that we are considered an essential commodity, we produce feed, baby chicks, and poultry meat. Um, it was critical for us to very quickly put protocols in place to defend our business, defend the staff, defend the ability of us as Guyanese to provide, to continue to provide adequate supplies of food and food products for the nation. And so we, by the 13th of March, which was the Friday after the lady had died, we had already put protocols in place here, having been certified to supply KFC and Churches and Popeyes and Royal Castle chicken. We are held to very high standards already. So it was like almost automatic for our staff. The minute we said all persons entering the compound will have to be temperatures taken, hands-free wash stations at the entrance, and initially sanitization on a regular basis of our bus that we bring staff and take them home, of fumigation of the processing plant twice a week, and these sorts of things we did right away. Very soon after that, as we realized that wearing a mask was also very important, even before our government stated that masks must be worn in public.
yeah,
We'd already put that as well in place, and it was like automatic for our staff they knew that what we were sharing with them was critical for their own personal health,
yeah,
and because we made it very clear that the proximity to the airport, because the airport hadn't closed as yet when we put the protocols in place. And so what happened was we shared with them. We actually had a general meeting with all the staff, the 450 staff that are here, um, and um, and we let them know how serious this was. We have not had anyone show signs of any illness between then and now, and so that has been a good thing. We even have protocols. Anyone coming into this compound has to follow the same rules. They must wear a mask, they must sanitize, they must take temperature checks. Also, along with Bounty Farm Limited at the farm, we did exactly the same thing
yeah,
very rapidly at our supermarkets, which was very critical. At the supermarkets, we also put in place the distancing, um, and we had the temperature checks. We put on protective gear on our staff, and um, and so those things actually helped us significantly to reduce the risk to both our staff and the persons visiting our stores. And we were able to, obviously, the government made the decision not to discontinue cargo flights coming into Guyana. So there was never a drop in the egg supply that we bring eggs for hatching for broiler chicks. So there
yeah,
was a continuation of the supply of chicken nationally, which was critical. How it affected us, though, the disease has affected us tremendously. Within the first 2 weeks of COVID, our sales dropped to less than 60%. So
Yeah.
sales dropped about 56%. Since those 2 weeks, it has recovered a little bit. But as you know, there's a curfew every day at 6 p.m. to
Yeah.
6 a.m. And therefore, if you think of sales at fast food facilities, most of their sales normally in the evening.
In the
And
evening.
so if they have to close at 4 p.m., that sale is still not recovered. So what happened is you're getting a little more. There was an increase to about 76%. So right now we're at about 76% of our normal sales.
Yeah.
Uh, Thankfully, we still have a job. Our staff still has the ability to come to work. There are not many. There are quite a few people who don't have the luxury because their business either depended on disposable income in the evening sales, and they're not considered essential. So we're quite lucky that years ago someone chose these businesses to get involved in, which were not necessarily the ones that do the greatest at the time, but they
Yeah.
were essential for survival, and so we try to do our part.
Excellent. That was really, really comprehensive, David, especially with regards to the protocols in place, even um, pre-announcement from the government, and of course, the continuation of such protocols amidst the announcement and to continue to protect your team and your customers. So, hats off to you guys in keeping your team members and your customers really, really safe. And you were getting into what you're doing for the company and for your team members. And I'm really, really now eager to hear what advice, David, would you give to fellow Guyanese individuals, also fellow business owners and persons who still have to work amidst this COVID-19?
Well, it's difficult. The period we're going through in the world is difficult. The problem, as I see it, is that COVID will not go away in the short term. We must learn to live with it. I think that it's critical for us to make sure that we be smart, as we can see the effects of getting infected if you have underlying issues, health issues like diabetes and so on. And so therefore, we urge everyone to think of the importance of keeping yourself safe for the while until a vaccine is found.
Yeah.
I think also it is critical for us to find a way of becoming more self-reliant. Most Guyanese have a little area behind their house that they could start their own kitchen garden. And we need to be conscious of that and become more self-reliant, as I said. It is difficult for Guyanese not to go back to work because our government, as is evident, is not in a position like other countries to give people money to stay home.
Yeah.
And so there will have to be some, and so far we've seen it being done in a responsible manner from government, not necessarily from the people on the road.
Yeah.
But at least government has had just a curfew. And so that still allows some movement during the day of people to be moving around to get food, to get services like to the bank, to the hospital. And those things are critical for us if we are to reduce the risk of people really having pressure bear upon them. With regards to the people out to work, it is going to be a difficult task. Guyana is a fortunate place where we as a nation have an abundance of food. I think that if anyone is starving in Guyana, they're actually lazy as far as I'm concerned, because any turn you make right now, you could get a man to eat.
Yeah.
There's always fish in the canal. There's auntie must have some rice at home. I'm just being quite candid with you, and so I think that the kind of conservative family approach that Guyana is, even in the rural communities, is even greater. You got coconuts on the tree. You got got chickens in the backyard, so you're getting your own eggs and that sort of thing. And from that point of view, we have a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, which is healthy. So our resistance as a nation is stronger than most countries in the developed world. So we will be able to, and that's why you see in the results show, even though we're not tested enough, the results are showing that the Guyanese person is resilient even when they get the disease.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we had a few people die, but the reality is for the world, until a vaccine comes, we'll have to live with it.
Yeah. Definitely. Quite interesting, and I think we have a connection challenge. David seems to be frozen, so I'm hoping that we can get him back just to put the final touches on our interview. Um, in the meanwhile, guys, thank you for tuning in. We've seen lots of activities happen with regards to this particular interview, comments, love and like. So continue to share our page, guys. And, I would like to say a big thank you to
Be back.
David. Thank you for coming back. David was
Yeah.
trying to hold the space. So you are about to wrap up that point with regards to what do we do. So anything that we can do as a people to make sure that we can continue to protect ourselves, definitely that is our biggest concern. And like you've mentioned, we do have food in many different categories and various degree of availability, especially in the rural areas where you can actually go to the canal, catch some nice healthy bush fish, and still have a meal.
Yeah. I
So
think if I say probably at this point, the most important thing that we need to do is to wear the mask
wear the mask.
public, because the mask doesn't stop you from getting the disease. It stops you from giving someone else the disease. So basically it reduces, not stops. So basically if I wear my mask, I defend you. And if
Yes.
you wear your mask, you defend me.
Yes.
And with the weather changing, because now the rainy season is coming in,
Yes.
we will have people getting the common flu and the common cold, which has nothing to do with COVID.
Yes.
But you will have fellow citizens, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, your uncles, starting to sneeze and cough, and it doesn't have anything to do with COVID. They need to wear their mask, and if the symptoms that are relevant to COVID start to show, then they get tested.
Yes.
But I think that it's important for us to wear the mask in the near term.
Definitely. Very good advice indeed. It's really important for us to do that. And you brought up a very good point that we are in the flu season, so we need to be very mindful to distinguish between the two.
Right.
And sometimes the degree of fear that people have can cause them to overreact, especially when somebody sneezes or cough in their presence. So
Yeah.
let us keep that at top of mind that we are also heading into the flu season, and we need to keep that in mind. So tell Marocha saying good morning to you, David, to Bounty Farm. I'm going to put her comment up. So she seems to be a big fan of you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have many more fans who are online as well. So thank you very much for your time, David. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today.
Yeah. Cheers. Thanks for having us.
Right.